The following is a special presentation of Tony Curry Radio. Want the real story behind the sound bites and headlines? Let's find the facts. Remember, it's not a conspiracy theory if it's the truth. You are not paranoid or confused. You just need to know.
Welcome, everybody. Another week of Need to Know. It's Monday morning in Birmingham, Alabama, where I'm coming to you from my secret bunker studio and ready and loaded for bear this week with a variety of things. And one of the reasons it's a variety is because some of the good stuff I had for you teed up last week never got off of the production slate, because a little incursion occurred on the Saturday before the Monday broadcast, a week ago Saturday, of course, and that was the surprise that what was in store for the Ayatollah, the 86-year-old supreme leader. That's not a very arrogant title, is it? What do you do for a living? I am the supreme leader of my country. And the supreme leader, who was just, as I mentioned last week on the show, as late as Thursday, and this happened Saturday morning, I saw a sound bite and he was mumbling in whatever Arabic language that is, ancient language. I'm sure it was from the 8th century, the same century where all of the beliefs that these people have emanated from. And the interpreter was very dispassionately relating what he was saying. And the 86-year-old supreme leader, who had about 40 hours left to live, unbeknownst to him, was spewing off all this stuff about, America, you just bring the best you have. It's going to be the biggest mistake you've ever made. We are going to make you pay for your continued interruptions and your continued evil influence on the world. Death to America. Iran will prevail. Blah, 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 blah. I mean, just talking direct shit to the United States of saying, just bring it on, big boy. We're ready for you. Well, I don't think that missile that wound up in the posterior of the supreme leader really agreed with his assessment. So I got a little sidetracked last week. We had to talk about the Iran situation. It continues now. The bombing raids are continuing. They are completely, just absolutely devastating the entire infrastructure of what these just insidious people have tried to build for decades. And it is being blown away piece by piece in a continued military effort. I have some things to get off my chest today and clear up, and some things that I think you need to know, especially if you watch conventional media coverage. And if you're doing that, stop. Don't watch CBS. Don't watch ABC. Don't watch NBC. Don't watch CNN. And for God's sake, don't watch MSNBC, because these people are just frothing at the mouth. And all they want to do is find ways to convince you that Donald Trump is what the Ayatollah claims he is, the great Satan. He is the problem with everything in the world. The president of the United States is deluded. He's a dictator. He's just the most awful thing ever. And no matter what happens, that's the messaging, that's the underlying theme of every story they do, of every event they cover. It is all designed, once again, behind Trump delusion syndrome. And you don't have to like the style of President Trump. You don't have to like how he addresses issues, or his personal style, or his bluntness, or whatever else you want to call it. But as far as being a leader and doing the things that need to be done in the course of his duties. This guy is something that we've never seen before. He's a dynamo. He works 24 hours a day. I don't think he even sleeps. He's on the phone with world leaders at 3 o'clock in the morning. He's doing a press conference at the White House at 8 a.m. He's on Air Force One. This weekend, he had meetings scheduled, which we'll talk about today. He had meetings scheduled in Miami Saturday about lunchtime. And then, just by happenstance, the remains of the original 5 of the 7 now American troops that have been killed in the Middle East during this Iran situation. Their remains were coming back to Andrews Air Force Base Saturday late afternoon. So Trump, after a full schedule on Friday, which we'll also talk about, and on Kiefer and Curry today, we're going to talk about the last event on that Friday, which was, with everything going on, Trump still had time to convene a college football, Save College Sports seminar with all kinds of luminaries from the sports and media and political world. That was his last event on Friday about 6 o'clock. Flew to Miami, got down there. I assume played golf at 6 or 7 in the morning because that's the way he relaxes, and then presided over a meeting with all of our allies in this part of the world, the Western Hemisphere, with them on Saturday. Flew back Saturday afternoon to be in Delaware at Andrews Air Force Base in time to honor the fallen from the incursion in Iran. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as well. So a lot to get to. But just to give you that overview, that this is just a typical 48 hours for this president, and we've never seen anything like this. Joe Biden used to report for duty on Monday afternoons, almost dinner time, have dinner at the White House after flying back from his weekend to Delaware, where he went every single solitary weekend. And the weekend for Joe Biden used to start. They would declare his schedule closed as of noon Friday. He would be on the copter and then on a plane to Delaware, which is about a 30-minute flight at most, and hold up in his mansion on the beach from Friday about 2 p.m. until Monday about 4 p.m. when he dutifully came back to the White House. This guy was the most non-working president, and he had an excuse for it. He wasn't physically able, and he certainly wasn't mentally able to be president of the United States. He was a figurehead. We've covered that territory thoroughly, but comparing these two guys, I mean, the dynamic is just unbelievably different of what a real leader does and the agenda that he takes on, compared to what we've seen in recent administrations. So with all that being said, one of the big things they keep harping on, of course, is the Iran situation, that Trump is out of line. He extended his authority. He had no business starting this situation without clearing it with Congress and having an act of war declared, a declaration of war by Congress. Now, of course, that only affects, there's only 635 people involved in that. If Trump had gone to the Congress and said, I want to declare war on Iran, that would not have been a secret. There's 535 representatives in the House. There's 100 in the Senate. There's thousands and thousands of staffers and people involved. If they had any kind of secret plan, any kind of surprise attack, which they did, it would have been completely exposed, because the leaks, it wouldn't even have been leaks. In this case, even in a secretive situation where Congress needs to be informed, and they were. Marco Rubio actually met with the four representatives of both parties, the Gang of Eight, they were called, and fully briefed them on what they were going to do. And the reason that it needed to be secret and it needed to be carried out this way is related to the fact of why we've had 7 American soldiers killed in action, because they weren't killed in action. I'm going to tell you how they were killed momentarily, but one of the reasons to maintain the secrecy of this operation was just the fact of how these soldiers met their end. And the basic bottom line is the United States has an ally in Israel who has the premier, most A team, dream team, intelligence bureau ever assembled, the Mossad. The Mossad is badass. I say that all the time. These guys know everybody's schedule. They know where they're going to be. They know what they're going to wear. They know when they excuse themselves to go to the restroom. They know which hand they reach for on the toilet paper roll to take care of their personal business. They know every detail. And they had absolutely positive information that the Ayatollah Khamenei was assembling his top lieutenants for a Saturday morning meeting in Tehran back when the week ago Saturday, and it was they were so confident that they had kept it a secret and that it was going to be it was on the beginning of the holiday celebration, Ramadan. It was on daylight time, and it was daylight in the morning when this was going to start. They had no fear whatsoever that anybody was any the wiser what they were up to in planning their next step. And their next step was, and the Israelis once again with Mossad, I don't know how they do it, but they have so many contacts and so many people on the inside. That meeting was the Ayatollah saying, with Trump's military presence perched out in the Persian Gulf, surrounding our country, it's time for us to go on the offensive. They had been stockpiling thousands and thousands and producing hundreds more every week of ballistic missiles capable of attacking certainly all the neighboring countries in that area, all of their Gulf neighbors, as they're being referred to now. And they had all these missiles teed up, predominantly aimed at U.S. strength areas, strongholds, I was trying to say, military bases, different operations for our CIA and whatnot. The BFFs for the Iranians, they had a friend in the remember the old commercial, you have a friend in the diamond business. Well, the Iranians also had a friend in the spy business, and they were their good buddies over at the Kremlin. Vladimir Putin and the Iranians have got all kinds of deals cooking. The Russians have been helping Iran with their nuclear program, which was just for peaceful purposes, of course. They had no intention of developing a nuclear weapon that could cause death and destruction to a large part of the planet, particularly supported by the fact that they were building missiles like insane people that were capable of long distances, intercontinental ballistic missiles, which could deliver a payload to the United States theoretically. And with all the development that they had been assisted by Russia for the development of their nuclear program, this was an existential threat, not only for people in the Middle East, but extended to the rest of the world. And this was a dictator. If you go by and read all of his rantings and all of his beliefs, this is a guy, once again, rooted in the 8th century, who believed his destiny was to be the guy that would trigger the ultimate war, the war between Muslims and non-believers, between the Islamic religion and the infidels. You and me who don't believe what they believe, we are not worthy to live. This guy, Khamenei, thought that was his destiny to launch that war and let the chips fall where they may, because great Allah was on their side. Muhammad had told them in the 8th century this was going to happen, and they've waited patiently now for 13 centuries since then to deploy this great strategy. And the beginnings of that salvo were starting to take shape with that meeting a week ago Saturday, because they were already teeing up ballistic missiles aimed at U.S. strongholds all around the Middle East. And at not only that, but with tourism and different things going on all the time in the UAE and Saudi Arabia, a lot of Westerners in the hotels and the entertainment centers. A lot of those missiles were aimed to take out as many people as possible. And the Israelis had serious intelligence, like they always do. So the time to strike was then, when these guys were in the last stages of planning their offensive, when they were getting ready to go on the attack. That was the time to take them out, and take them out we certainly did. The Israelis actually conducted that bombing raid that started all this a week ago Saturday, and dropped 24 different attacks in sequence on this. And they had an underground compound, but they were so cocky and so confident in their destiny and what they were there to do. They actually met above ground, and it was like literally shooting fish in a barrel for the Israelis. Khamenei and all of his guys, reportedly 41 of the major leaders of the Islamic Republic of Iran, met their end, and now they're hanging out with whatever virgins they're promised up in the afterlife, because they got blown straight to hell where they belong. And let's hope that in that society, in that scheme of things, that there is a horrible hell for these people in this country, in Iran, which has been the biggest boil on the ass of the planet for 47 years, since these clerics, these apocalyptic nutcases, seized command of that country, and immediately also took so many Americans hostage for 444 days. Ronald Reagan, when he came in, threatened them, "You let our people go or else." He should have as soon as Americans were back home in 1981 when he took office, he should have launched this attack and wiped them out right then. The or else should have been deployed even if they complied with their bargain, because we had administration after administration that sucked up to them, kept trying to appease them, kept trying to talk to convince everybody that that the way to win over the Iranians was to support them economically, and the whole anybody who's paid attention knew what their agenda was. It wasn't to be a world citizen, it was to wipe out the rest of the world, because their way is the only way, and that's what they truly believed. These maniacs that were allowed to run this country for 47 years. We've been at war with these people since 1979, folks, and it was time for it to stop, and it's stopping now. And of course, instead of rallying to the cause and recognizing what Donald Trump did by stepping in along with the Israelis to put a stop to this, now it's all this, well, he's not authorized. This is terrible. There's no end strategy. This is, of course, I heard, I can't remember which one it was, but some Democrats said, well, of course, my concern now is just the well-being of our people there. Bull, you know what? That's not their best concern. Their most pressing concern is to blame Trump for every American death, for every building base that's attacked, as the Iranians, in desperation because their head was cut off in terms of leadership, are just launching these missiles all over the place, and they're bombing all of their neighbors who have intentionally stayed out of all this. It is no secret in the Arab world. Everybody's sick and tired of this ridiculous theocracy, these apocalyptic mad dogs that have had this country for so long. But because there's still some solidarity in the Muslim world, a lot of countries said, look, Israel, United States, knock yourself out. We're against these people, but we can't participate directly because it just wouldn't be, kosher, which is a hilarious word I just chose because, of course, that's a Jewish thing. But on the other hand, it just wouldn't be, appropriate in their minds to be involved attacking their Muslim brothers as far as demented as they might be. Of course, that attitude changed when they started raining down missiles. This is an incredible fact that you probably haven't heard from any of the conventional outlets. There have been more missiles in the last 10 days fired from Iran at the UAE, which is the United Arab Emirates, Dubai. They have fired more missiles at them than they have at Israel, their sworn enemy. And it just goes to show you, because the UAE is the most friendly country right now in the Middle East to Westerners, the infidels, all of us Satans here in America and Europe and other parts of the world. So UAE has to pay. So all of this Muslim Brotherhood stuff that kept everybody out of that conflict for a long time, that's out the window for the Iranians. They're lashing out at everybody. They're firing at American bases. The Americans killed so far, and there's been 7, and that's 7 too many. A fallen soldier, somebody in service to their country. I can't even tell you how it just hurts my heart to think about every one of those brave individuals that were in that part of the world serving our best interests. But they were not killed in combat. There's been no pilots. There's been a pilot shot down, but they ejected safely. There's been a couple of those. Our allies, the Kuwaitis, actually shot down 2 of our planes by mistake, thinking that they were the enemy. But nobody in combat in the United States. We don't have soldiers on the ground. This is an aerial mission so far, and hopefully we will not. I don't think you're going to see an American soldier on the ground. But the bottom line is, all of these people that have died were assigned, and most of them were in Kuwait in one attack that got through early on, and a number of soldiers were wounded. I don't know if they were asleep at the time in their barracks or just in normal operation on the base, but 5 of the 7 casualties have come from that base in Kuwait, and a couple of the other ones from some other situations similar to that. No one has been killed in action here. These are Americans that were assigned that just got caught in the frenzy of return fire, which is being ordered by God knows who, because they have no leadership now. They've just named Khamenei's son last night as the new supreme ruler. He's got a big X on his chest right now. You can bet on that, because he's just as whacked out as his father. And this is not some heir apparent. This guy's 66 years old, because his old man, who's now, deep in the earth, blown away by the Israeli missile attack, was 86. So this is some old, crackpot right in the same line as his father. I guarantee you his life expectancy not real good right now, because that's not the kind of transition that needs to be made. The Iranian people need to take back to the streets and sweep their own government into power, like we saw in Romania back around the late 80s or early 90s, when their dictator and his wife, who was really calling most of the shots, were literally chased out of the presidential palace and arrested, and within a week lined up and shot. That's basically what the citizen uprising needs to be in Iran to get things back under control. So don't let a Democrat tell you that they're rooting for the best outcome. And of course, they're pro-America and pro our troops. They don't give a damn about America. They may have some concern for our troops, but only how they can use their deaths to their advantage to promote their agenda. And their agenda is one thing and one thing only. The most effective leader this country has had in our lifetime, who never stops, who is always doing things to improve the situation, Donald J. Trump. Again, there's things about him I don't like. There's things that I would certainly do differently in terms of style. But as far as an active leader that's making the tough calls and doing the right things for the long-term survival of our country and our children and our children's children and all of their future results. It is certainly heartening to see that we've got a leader that's bold, that takes action, and does what has to be done. The rest of the weekend, I told you, went down. You hear America first. You hear MAGA, make America great again. Well, maybe we need to put an S on that America, because he had an unbelievable gathering at Doral Country Club, which he owns in Miami, on Saturday. Once again, hopping down there Friday night, coming right back on Saturday afternoon after that meeting. But it was representatives from all over this hemisphere, from South America, Central America, out in the Caribbean, all kinds of places that are 100% behind Trump and we have seen an amazing thing in the Americas, and I'm talking about South America, Central America, North America. You've seen all of these people rallying to a conservative approach again and start throwing out all of these leftists, all these banana republics that have been kind of calling the shots for a long time. Now, there's still some holdovers, of course, but movements all over the Caribbean, the Dominican, through Central America, El Salvador, in South America, Ecuador, Peru, Chile, Argentina especially, has gone 100% to the right side of the ledger. What we're seeing is just an absolute miracle in our hemisphere. It's make the Americas great again. They are on board. They have taken back control of their country. They are 100% allegiance to America and President Trump, the leader. We saw what happened in Venezuela, took dramatic action. We are forcing the issue in Cuba, which is on the verge of total collapse, and a new government at a first time since 1958, getting away from the communist socialist hellhole that it's become. You've got Colombia, which is still on the dark side because that's a country basically controlled by the drug trade. Same thing with Mexico. Those countries will be slow to come around, but are starting to see movements by their own population to do so. And Brazil is kind of a loose cannon as well. A lot of leftist ideology there, but Brazil, a very major country, will eventually, with the rest of its cohorts pressuring them, will eventually see the light. So Trump is doing some amazing things right here in our hemisphere. It all started with Panama. The Chinese had basically taken control of the Panama Canal. Trump said, Panama, it's them or us. We're taking the canal back, and we're cutting off all of your funding if you don't kick them out and send them on the fast boat. It used to be called the slow boat, back to China. And that's just what Panama did. They elected a brand new government. The Chinese are no longer welcome. They have no control of the Panama Canal any longer. It is a miracle what this guy has accomplished in just a year and a half in our backyard here in our own hemisphere. So all that being said, there's also been the Democrats who are all for, and I need to wrap up, but the Democrats who are all for, the best things for our country, that is just such a crock. Because right now, the Department of Homeland Security is still not funded, is shut down. We are living in an era where there's pockets of people in this country, because of the wide open borders and the pseudo administration of Joe Biden. We know that thousands of Iranians came into this country illegally. I don't know how many of them are still here, but there's always the chance for terrorist outbursts. We had one in Austin, Texas in recent days, a guy wearing a pro-Muslim sweatshirt and an Iranian flag T-shirt opened fire at a popular night spot in Austin, killed 3, wounded 14 before the police shot him down. But we don't have funding right now for the Department of Homeland Security because they've still got the red ass over ICE and the ICE tactics. And I can get into all of that, but you've heard it from me before. There is no excuse for what happened in Minneapolis, where people were shot, citizens were shot by ICE agents, but those were not the innocents that is being projected by the media. They were both trained operatives, and their role was to disrupt, obstruct, interrupt, and provoke officers. Now, the officers stepped over the line in almost certainly both those cases, but as I've pointed out many times on this program, police action historically, if you're a protester, you can yell at the police, you can stand across the street, you can't throw things, you can't destroy their vehicles, you can't get in their way, you can't get in their face. That is not protesting, that is provoking. These people provoked these officers into extreme measures, and that's what they're trained to do. They'll tell you that the lady that was shot in her car after she'd hit an ICE officer and was backing up, where he thought she was going to try to run him over for good, but he took the ultimate action, and he probably, if he had enough faculties to aim his weapon, he probably had enough ability to get out of the way. So again, in an extreme situation, provoking things is putting yourself in jeopardy. The guy who was shot just 2 days before had physically attacked agents and kicked the headlight or the taillight out of their car, was yelling and screaming, come out here and fight me, you blankety blanks. These people were professional provocateurs trained to do that. And when they met their demise, that was like the greatest thing ever for the people that are paying the bills and financing all of this alleged organic chaos and unrest, once again, as anti-Trump demonstrations and a desperate attempt to get things back in their category of re-seizing power and control, which means they control all of the wealth and all of the ideological future of our country. That's what I had today. That's what you need to know. I'm Kip Keefer. Thank you all for tuning in. Don't miss Keefer and Curry this week. We're going to talk about something else the president was involved in. He didn't have enough to do over the weekend. He chaired a meeting on saving college sports, and I've got some very interesting takes on that you're not hearing anywhere else. So stay tuned. Here on TKR all week long. Our programs usually drop on the first day here on Monday night, but look for them all week. They'll be up, and we invite you to join us every week right here. Kip Keefer on the TKR network. Thanks for tuning in.
This has been a special presentation of Tony Curry Radio.